I'm not gonna lie, the world is a bit of a crazy place right now. And throw in, the midlife challenges women in this audience are already dealing with. It's becoming a bit of a headache. I have to turn the news off. But today, I'm going to have a really refreshing conversation with Teresa Van Raay, who is the director of the Ontario Federation of Agriculture. And Teresa and I were connected because I was trying to learn more about shopping local, more of the benefits, of course, of farm to table, supporting our local farmers and communities. But also, what are the nutritional benefits of eating local and eating in season? As a terrible cook and a uncreative meal planner, I get so bored midway through any season of trying to cook with like what's in season and I just run out of ideas. What I found fascinating about talking to Teresa is I've got this all wrong. Um, when we look at shopping Ontario, and I'm using Ontario because I'm based in Ontario, there are a lot more choices than I even realized. I didn't realize I could actually enjoy produce that is not in season, but fresh and grown locally in the off season. And I know that probably sounds really confusing, but Teresa's going to clear that up for me. Teresa and her husband have been farming for 42 years in Dashwood, Ontario. And Teresa's really opened up my eyes to expanding my meal plans and being able to have access to more of the fruits and veggies that I love all year round locally. There's many benefits to doing that. Obviously, the benefits of supporting farmers and local businesses, but also the benefits to our bodies. So have a listen to Teresa Van Raay and find out why you should shop local. Teresa, before we started recording, you and I had an interesting chat about, midlife and health and nutrition. And it's sort of funny what you said because it's something I hear so much. In our first couple of decades, we were just doing all the things, probably running ragged. And it's only been recently that we're starting to listen to our bodies and pay attention to what we're eating in our nutrition.
Well, and I always did think I was on top of it and that kind of stuff, but life gets in the way.
Yes.
COVID was certainly not calm to me. I was no to anybody, I'm sure, but I ended up gaining like almost 20 pounds. And where the heck did this go? And I've been figuring it out. It's not just what I've been putting into my mouth; it's what my head has been working with. And so working and so realizing that full health is not just food, it is the whole body and the whole mind, and being okay with not being okay, or just taking that time and being able to speak it out loud and not be in the fear that somebody's going to judge you for it, or that kind of stuff. And I'm
Yeah.
getting close to almost saying I don't care. But
You're
not
almost there.
almost there, but not quite, because I know I if I'm not strong, I affect everybody on the farm here. They can, well, everybody affects everybody, but I'm maybe the more vocal and the easier one to cause crap to.
So we have to keep you healthy so we can keep you happy,
There
right?
you go. And
Yeah. And as I said to you, happy wife, happy life, as my husband says. So I keep reminding him of that when he upsets me.
well, we farm with two of our sons, so it's also happy mom.
Yeah. Like you said, well, you are the epicenter of disaster, in like all women are in their families.
I don't.
Um, so I wanted to talk to you today, as the director of the Ontario Federation of Agriculture, because I've been hearing from the OFA just how important it is for us to really consider food grown and raised in Ontario. Like we're obviously doing this podcast from Ontario. Um, and there was a lot of things I read that I didn't really know. Like, we're in the middle of winter. So if I think about eating foods that are in season, there's a lot of foods I will discount because it's winter. We're not going to get strawberries or the good strawberries. But the information I got told me something completely different. And
Mhm.
yeah, I was hoping we could talk about that because
Oh,
yeah, talking about like not just the foods that we still have access to and how we have access to them so that we know that they're fresh and they're healthy, but also, you know, where we can find them. It's not just typically the grocery store. So, do you think, Teresa, we could talk a little bit about that? Because then after that, I'm going to have some questions for you. So I'm a terrible shopper. I always have a hard time going through the aisles and looking for fresh produce and knowing what's in season. And now with our political climate changing, we are really trying hard to buy Canadian. So, can you give me a little bit of an idea of, what foods are available to us? Like, let's stick with Ontario for now. Um, During this time of year, because I know from what I've read, there's a lot of items I did not think would be in season this time of year in Ontario that would be, worth buying.
well, like all of your root vegetables, for one, like your potatoes and your carrots, your parsnips, and all that kind of thing. We also, like, I know eggs are year round, milk is year round. We are pork producers, so pork is year round. We also are garlic producers, and we package our garlic, and it goes into the local grocery store, local as in Ontario, and then there is some out west that goes. But we just finished packaging for that in January. So that our garlic, our fresh garlic, we harvested in July, and we just finished up our supply a couple weeks ago. So there's that kind of vegetable too. Let me think here. Well, there's always our wine and our beer, because I know I didn't where we
Yeah.
where we are from, we are Huron County, and there is a number of microbreweries, as well as we've got a couple of local people that are producing their wine from their grapes. So that's pretty cool too. Let me think here. What other little tricks are there? Well,
Well,
like,
I saw strawberries. That shocked me.
oh yes, from the greenhouses.
Yeah, I can you talk a bit about that? Because honestly, if you had told me before I got this press release that buying strawberries in Ontario, made in Ontario, was possible in the winter, I would have not believed you.
Yeah, I can't tell you exactly how it all works, but I know they're called ever-bearing strawberries, and they're grown in the greenhouses. So they are what I find, whenever, like for example, for strawberries when they're in season, whether it's the summer or these, the flavor is so much more richer, uh,
Yeah.
and that kind of stuff with these, and the nutritional value is just out of this world as well. And talking about nutritional wise, that's one of the things I found over the years, that there is confusion about what is proper nutrition for your body or for anybody's body. And like I've always struggled when people, not struggle, but confused with when people say that food is so expensive. And yes, it is, but it's also, what are you putting in your cart, and what are you putting in your mouth? So with as a pork producer, we are very in tune of what pork is doing. Like, so let's take a tenderloin, and a tenderloin has like one serving has like 20 grams of protein,
Mm.
and it's low in fat, and it's just packed with nutritional value that your body needs. And because it's a more dense protein, it keeps you fuller longer, so you're not going to go and eat as much, like those little snacky stuff going on there. So
Mm.
understanding where you're getting your protein and your vitamins from is also something that, if I could get on my soapbox and get home back into our high schools, or even actually something back into when our kids are grade one, grade kindergarten.
Yeah.
Like, it's we have our grandkids are, they're the twins are 10, and the our granddaughter, the younger ones, she's 6. And these kids will eat your vegetables and eat your fruits and drink water, only because their mom and dad have drilled it into them, right? And now it's okay to drink water, but if the parents are not aware of how much like what a difference it makes if your kids don't have pop or sugary drinks.
Oh, yeah.
And I look at that and I'm going, oh, like, but now, of course, they'll eat their candy. They're not like deprived children. but
Yeah.
but but the parents have to be aware of that. And we are also aware of that. So then they get the full picture. And it's like you talked about your 13-year-old daughter.
Mhm.
What does she eat for lunch?
Oh, her nutritional IQ is very low. And that's because so this is interesting to me. That's because when she was, growing up, it was like get her to eat fruits and veggies and proteins, but we didn't really understand the what's and the whys. And I feel like if
Ah,
you were buying carrots that are off season or they've traveled really far, they're tasteless. So if I was feeding her those carrots because I felt I had to feed her carrots and she didn't like the taste because there was none, how am I going to reintroduce carrots to her? Like, had I known what we're talking about right now, that there are a lot of fruits and veggies in season that I didn't realize we could get locally, they would taste better, fresher. We'd be supporting more local, and she would have enjoyed the flavor. Like when you're eating veggies that are bland, as a kid, you think all veggies suck, but like teaching them
yeah.
at a young age that when you're eating in season, it actually tastes really good. There's so much nutritional value. I feel like you're right. We should be teaching them not just, eat veggies, but why and what does this veggie do for you? Like these are the things I'm learning as someone in midlife, and I'm trying to transfer this information to my daughter now.
Oh, and I certainly have to apologize to my four growing up because I certainly we did the Pop Tarts. You know, you did we do that the quick fix, and we've always now I sit back. Okay, well they've grown up and they look they're all healthy, so I guess we
They're okay.
they're okay. But we like I remember having to go through with one of our sons. He like he was all we had to look for the color. Remember the red dye was really big that you had to, and so I would
Yeah.
go to the grocery store and it took me hours to read the labels and what was on the stuff. And you're going, how is this affecting the mental health of our children? And you could see like sometimes they bounce off the wall. And then I know I bounce off the wall.
Yep.
So I'm pretty sure the ADHD came from me or,
Yeah.
or
Yeah, I
AD.
have a lot to say about that. Yep.
Yeah, yeah. And I think just even that's who I am. And being aware of like if I have certain foods or stuff, it affects me a lot. So I can just imagine if we aren't aware of that, and
Yep.
that and is that education piece. So but back to why you should eat local. We appreciate it as farmers.
Yeah.
So we've been farming. What am I? 43 years. Martin and I've been married. So we have been growing pork for that many years, and we just started growing garlic 11 years ago now, maybe. No,
Okay.
maybe not even that long now. But the people that we have on the farm helping us do it, because we obviously cannot do it with just the four of us. And
Yeah.
so we employ a number of local people. We have the honor of having four seasonal workers come from Mexico. This is our second year with that, and they're just so helpful. And it's been tough finding consistent labor where we are right now, but being able to hire them, have them here, have them become part of the family. Really, they're so awesome. And then we have students in the summer, and being able to give them a job helps them to understand and well understand farming for one, and where their food comes from. So it's really
Yeah.
important. Yeah, it's really important for us because we do like help people to live by giving them a good wage. Um, but we also have the ability and the resources here to grow this food. So why that's why like this whole thing about Canada and the tariffs and trade and that kind of stuff, it is so important to trade back and forth. Can
Hmm.
like we've got all these natural resources, let's spread them and share them to the world, and
Yeah.
we can do that. So it's that that is the passion for me, is we love growing food and talking to our customers, and being able to supply a quality product as well. That's the key thing.
I really like all of that because when you were saying that, I was like, oh, what a great summer job for someone in high school. Like as a parent, like,
Oh,
oh, you could learn so much. And I remember taking my daughter when she was about 7 or 8 to a friend of mine. Her family has a farm north of the city, and Maddie, my daughter, and I were picking garlic. We were pulling
oh,
carrots, red peppers. Oh, like they had everything. And, it wasn't really compelling for my daughter because she's like, wow, we're doing veggies all day. But we cooked those veggies and the flavors were amazing. But she also got to see how they grow, how they were harvested, which I thought was really, really cool. And I learned a lot, but to do it as a summer job, to really like learn the process and how it all works and what you're, like you said, what you're putting into your body, you really are getting that firsthand knowledge. I also I love what Homegrown is doing, their initiative to sort of raise the awareness about protecting and preserving Ontario farmland because that's another issue that we're dealing with, right?
very much so. And if if but nothing will change if the consumer doesn't want it to. And for like one of our huge is the education portion of that. Like we need more housing in Canada. We know that.
Hmm.
And we want to help cities and small towns grow up or grow better, sort of thing, not just kind of sprawling. And people are starting to be aware that, hey, we just can't go and sever off that field and think it's going to be okay 20 years from now. Like we
Yeah.
have to think of the future. And I know it's not easy because it's, if you're that farm, right, that's right next to the city. But for the life of Canadians, we have to plan ahead
Hmm.
and be able and work together. That's the key thing. And because we in the ag industry supply a lot of jobs for the people that live in the cities, like
Yeah.
the amount when you take the processing plants or even like the grocery stores, like we're doing all that. So it's
Yeah.
it's the education, understanding how we farm. And if I can show people, like for example when we're raising our pigs and how we care for our pigs, and the barns we have built to make sure that those pigs are comfortable and they've got proper feed and like lots of water and lots of and the air is good, sort of stuff. That that is key to understanding that if we're going to import a less superior product, know why, and,
Hmm.
and understand like the rules that we have to go under to put garlic in a bag is quite substantial. And then with the pigs as well, like they're like you have to we follow a lot of the rules to ensure that every pork chop that has the little logo from Ontario Pork, or the Ontario government has a logo as well that you can see that all the time. But the pork is a check mark, a nice, really cute green check mark. Um, but oh, where was I going with this? See, there's the brain fog.
There's
I
a brain fog.
think it was a really good point there, girl. But
No, we were talking. You're gonna
oh,
ask me to help you?
no kidding. Oh, that is hilarious. No, I think the whole thing is to understand that it's important. That's what it was. Very important that we have the land and the infrastructure to grow our own food, so that we know it's safe, and also we know that we have a supply. Like to being able to provide food, and then also to provide food outside of Canada. We have to think of Canada first, because I think we want to be able to sustain ourselves here, but it's important. We don't
Mhm.
want to import everything, but we don't then but we want it to go both ways, but we have the ability to produce it here. So why would we not do
Which is where I think the disconnect is me, the consumer. Like I said earlier, I
that?
didn't know we were producing in the off season. So it wouldn't occur to me to go seek that out in the grocery store. So we need, I think, a better education, which is
Ah,
why we're talking about this today. I want to go into labels and discerning what is local and what is maybe not. But before we do that, I wanted to ask you a few things. So I've been doing my own research on my own nutrition, my family's nutrition, and I'd want to explore with you, and I think you have the answers. I have the questions. Why is it important for our bodies to eat seasonal foods? And how does that relate to our environment? Like, we know that when we're eating foods at the right time of year for the climate that we're living in, it's better for our bodies. But why?
that I don't think I can answer that question in the whole thing. So we've
Okay.
because I find if you're going in the grocery store and you go on the outside aisles and you that's your main grocery basket full of that sort of stuff, the less processed is where more so that I'm on.
I think that makes a lot of sense because, like,
Yeah,
our bodies are, adapt to thrive on seasonal foods during specific times of the year, right? So those foods don't need to be overly processed when they come to the grocery store because they are in season. Like hydrating fruits in the summer and energy dense root veggies in the winter. So if we're able to grow them, like you said, here and local in a greenhouse or wherever, then you're right. Like those foods are not overly processed or treated, so they are better for our body. We know that. Like,
and they're stored properly too, so that they
yeah, a
when
big thing
when you
is the
when
storage.
you yes when you store it properly, then you do continually to keep the nutritional value there. So we like so our pork, if you we flash freeze it like as soon as like we cut it up and I don't cut it up, our abattoir does.
Yeah.
um, and then it's flash frozen in a vacuum pack. That piece of pork is the way it was when it was fresh. So you just
Right.
right and the nutrition's there. So just knowing little tidbits like that and trying not to do too much over processed is my little key on that one.
Yeah. And as someone who is struggling to get all my protein in a day, I have learned if you're not a vegetarian or vegan, pork is a really good source of protein, very high. This can help you get those 8 million grams of protein we need a day as a woman in midlife. Um, but we also know that when we're consuming fruits and vegetables and meats, poultry, in season, it is better for our digestion and maximizes our nutrient intake because the foods are fresher and they're more aligned with our natural environment. So, even more reason to shop the perimeter. But the the question I have about shopping the perimeter, and I touched on this a little in the beginning, is many shoppers like myself are shopping, and we've heard that, oh, the strawberries are coming from, Mexico, the US, so there's a long journey for them to get here. We've probably lost some nutritional value, we've probably lost flavor. I mean, by the time they reach us, they've gone through such a process that what's left is maybe not as tasty, but it's super expensive. So I was excited to know that we have greenhouses here that can actually, maybe not all of the veggies we love, but take, some Canadian-based veggies like strawberries, etc. And we can get them locally. Like,
And
or
and
frozen. A frozen is another one. I used to say, oh, we're not buying frozen veggies, but can you talk a little bit about the nutritional value of frozen? Because it's way better than I thought.
oh, totally. Well, as I just explained to you with regards to the pork, but also with the vegetables, when you are steaming them from frozen, like you, part of it is to not like boil the crap out of them.
Yes.
Just nice little steam. And then what we do is like if there's any from the water that has come off the frozen vegetables, and you can make a nice soup. So you're never losing the nutritional value, like if because that will come out, right? Some with the
Mhm.
water, that kind of thing. So it's preparation as well. You can have a very great vegetable or piece of meat, but if you prepare it incorrectly, you can knock it, like really take it all out, right?
Yeah,
And
that's
then
why I let my husband cook.
oh, there you go. Well, like one of the things, and we can, for example, I can speak very personal on this. So my mom is now 88 this year. And when she grew up, right, like they cooked all their meat till it was like this
Right.
a good hockey puck for the London Knights, I tell you. Um,
Yes.
yes, so, but now we learn, and because of the way we raise our pigs, is we know that you do not have to cook a your tenderloin or your chop or whatever, any primal cut. It's still pink is perfect because
Mhm.
it's the way we raise it. They're not, they don't have to cook the juice out of it or anything. It's just like cook it like a normal, almost like a steak kind of stuff too, right? And
Yeah.
be okay with that. And that also locks in the nutritional value as well. And you want to have some more because it tastes good.
Yeah, exactly. Well, okay, so my husband and I grew up in the 70s, and
Oh,
he
oh,
would,
okay.
so you know that our parents cooked our meat to gray. And I remember Sunday night roast beef, I'd be like, oh, but now I love roast beef because I realize what it can be. And my husband, same thing with steak. I guess his mom and dad used to like overcook steak, like all our parents did. And he said when he was in his 20s, he was somewhere like a barbecue and they were cooking steak, like nice juicy steaks. And he was like, "What is that?" And they said, "It's steak." And he's like, "Not where I come from."
Yep.
So we've learned to not overcook and over process everything. The whole farm to table sort of trend that started years ago was such a
Yeah.
good look into why it's important, not just from a nutritional aspect, but also business, right? Like supporting local. We always talk about
Yeah.
that. Um, Grown in Ontario. And now with everything we're learning, like even the red dye stuff, like the stuff that's going into our food, the microplastics and everything, it's really, really challenging to cook healthy. And it's expensive to cook healthy, which is a real issue. Like I look at raising a daughter and being concerned about all the hormones that were in our food. And, we would go to a local place here, Row Farms, and buy our food there. But wow, that could bankrupt you. So you have to be a good shopper, a good planner, which I'm not, to be able to do that, to shop local, support local, but not go bankrupt.
Can you just really touched on a little, I need to tell you this. So all of, I'm talking about the pork right now. So all of the pork that you will find in your grocery shelves that is from Canadian source has zero antibiotics and there is no hormones. That is really, really, really important, whether it's
Mhm.
organic or conventionally raised. All Canadian pork is that way.
Okay.
So that, and not everybody knows that. So there's these good marketing tools that say they're antibiotic free and hormone free pork. Well, yep, you're right. But when they advertise that, like I believe it was A&W did their burgers or not or whatever, they kept saying that tagline and going, but that's for all the pork that we've got. Like the bacon is always like that. That's like, so then when someone says things like that, and people that have no other knowledge over here on it will think that if they don't say that, then it must have hormones and antibiotics in it.
Right. Okay, that's a good tidbit. I didn't know that.
Yes, and that is something that I get questioned all the time. And you're going back to remember what I told you about all the rules and regulations that
Yep.
in Canada we have to do. That's part of it, is to ensure that. So, like we ship to a plant in Breslau, Conestoga Meat Packers, and they ship all over the world. So our CQA, or I guess it's Canadian Pork Excellence Program, is recognized throughout the world, that that's what how we raise our pigs. So they want that pork as well. So it's a big deal, and it's not just Conestoga. It's all the plants in Canada.
Well, that leads me to sort of my last area of questioning.
Oh, okay.
If I want to be a savvy shopper, I
Yeah,
know, like, just thinking about, when you see organic, and we know that's not true. Like, there's a lot of wiggle room, to use the word organic, on a lot of foods that we see, packaged foods. So we have to be smart about that. But when it comes to fruits and veg and pork, um, what are the labels we should be looking for that really indicate that they're Ontario based? Or I'm talking, of course, Ontario because we're having this conversation here. But, just recently with everything happening in the US, we've got apps now that tell us, just because something says made in Canada doesn't mean it's fully made in Canada. It might cross the border a few times, like automotive will.
yeah,
So there's like three different types of labels you have to look at, and I can't even remember what they all are. Made in Canada, produced in Canada, something else. So
yeah. The
we have to be
product.
very careful. Like, is it a product of Canada? Is it, brought to Canada and shipped from Canada? Like, that's something we're going to learn pretty quickly with these tariffs coming in. But what about fruits and veg and beef and poultry? Like, if we want to seriously support local and eat local, what should we be looking for?
Oh, the little tagline, I was like, and with the Ontario pork, I know it's a round circle with a green check mark on it, and that says that pork is produced in Ontario and packaged in Ontario. It's an Ontario one.
Okay.
Uh, the With regards to well, let's speak on the vegetables. So I can speak on our garlic. So it says on the package, produced in Canada, or produced in Canada or Ontario. I'm not sure what it does say on there, because we ship out west as well. But it's yeah, it is kind of annoying how they did, like, it's very confusing. Who in the right mind would go and say product of Canada or produced in Canada? Like, you can take a pork chop and from a loin from the US and repackage it, and
Hmm.
it'll say product of Canada. Okay, there you go. And it's true, because they've taken that loin and made it into their pork chops, and then they put their label on it,
Right. But it
which
wasn't raised in
it
Canada.
was no. However, it could have come from Canada from the beginning, because one of the things that, back to this trade, is in the pork industry, we want to keep the borders open. So it goes back and forth, just like you were chatting about the automotive.
There is a new app. Someone
Oh,
told me about
tell me
it.
about
I
that.
think I've downloaded it. Oh,
Okay,
it's called Check the Label. That's what it's called.
okay.
You
Gonna do
can
that one.
probably see it on my little phone here. Check the label.
Okay, I do.
So what you're able to do, I haven't set the app up entirely, but you're able to scan a product and it will tell you whether the product is produced here, made here, etc. I have to play around with it. It
Oh,
came out because of this conversation with the Trump administration, but um, it's probably a really great tool overall anyway. Tariffs or no tariffs, it's just good to know where your food is coming from. And back to the original point, it's important to know where your food is coming from, but
just
for
understand.
nutritional reasons. I'm really glad we have had this conversation because, like I said to you, I wanted to talk to you when I found out that we could buy, you know, off-season fruits and veg here from local, because this was news to me. Um, what would you say the top veggies and fruits are that we're producing in Ontario locally that we should keep our eyes out for?
Well, I know that the greenhouses do peppers, like the bell peppers, and they probably do those hot things, but I don't like hot peppers, so I don't pay attention to that. uh, there could be Ontario garlic still,
Hmm.
that people have had a quantity or stored them properly. We have your apples. Oh, definitely the potatoes,
Hmm.
and I just love my carrots and all the root vegetables that we can locate on that one.
Hmm.
And then I do the frozen,
Hmm.
and some don't discount canned as well.
Yeah, sorry, that's another thing I'd heard was
Yeah,
canned.
yeah, yeah. So, and I know that, like, just locally in Strathroy, I believe they have a couple of plants that they're doing fruits and veggies there, but don't quote me on that one. I have to look that up for sure. But
Okay.
there is the ability and to find good nutritional value in that grocery store 365 days a year, but you just need to know what you're looking for.
Yeah. And if it's canned in Canada, again, shorter cycle to shelf. So I think we can make the assumption that that's a better option for us. This
Yeah.
is good to know because I do feel limited in certain seasons. Like, I always feel like, oh, we missed strawberry season, or we're coming to the end of cherries. Cherries are my favorite.
Oh my lord. Yeah, you have to remortgage the farm for that. Oh, you just reminded me, tomatoes as well. You can get
Yeah.
yes, 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 yes.
Hmm.
And keep it a look at where they come from usually. Like Leamington is the greenhouse capital. I don't know how long. No, it's got a lot of good vegetables and fruit that they can grow there. So
Oh, okay. But Leamington would be on the label
it should
or
be.
somewhere on the packaging. So
Yeah,
that's good to know. Teresa, this has been really, really helpful for me. I'm going to be a savvy shopper now. I swear
oh,
to God I am. And I'm going to share like some great resources, recipes that I found that I love.
please.
If you have any great recipes or anything that will help us think local, send them over to me.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but thank you because, like I said, this is really eye-opening for me because I have been really limited in the way that I shop and the way that I cook. And now, after what you've said, I feel inspired to go and look for some frozen and canned and get more variety during the winter because I've been trying to keep it to seasonal and it's
Hmm.
hard. So thank you so much for joining me.
Oh,
And
but
yeah, I look forward to keeping track of what you're doing because I'm probably going to hit you up for some like gardening tips at some point.
well, the gardening maybe not. We'll talk to our
Maybe not the gardening. Maybe
yeah,
if I get into
talk to
small
our
farming.